Today I'm going to set up Mealie. It's a self-hosted recipe management solution for the home. If you're interested in seeing how I do this, come check it out. The program that I'm going to be running today is Mealie, and you can find it at mealie.io. This is a fantastic program. It's actually one of my favorites. I find that when I go online and find a recipe that I really enjoy, if I bookmark it, when I come back to it the next time, for whatever reason, the recipe is gone. And I use Mealie as a way to archive my favorite recipes, as infrequently as I use them. But what's nice with Mealie is I can save any recipes that I've found online, and it doesn't matter if the website there that I found them on disappears. I've got them effectively archived in my own home lab. Mealie is a really simple program. It's really fast to get running, and it's not going to take long to get through this at all. So right from their website, I'm going to click on Get Started. They've got Get Started again here. We'll click on that. And under installation, we've got a few ways we can install this. One is with PostgreSQL, and one is with SQLite. It's recommended here for SQLite, which is great if you've only got a handful of users. It's perfect in my case because I've only got 2 users within my home. But if you've got a lot of users, or you're going to make this publicly accessible, I would recommend going with Postgres. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use the SQLite. And in here, they've got a simple compose file. So I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to switch to my terminal. And in here, I'm going to switch to my apps directory and create a new directory for Mealie. Change into that directory, and then we'll create a compose file. And just paste that compose file that we got off of the Mealie website. In here, there's a few things we need to change. I'm going to put this at mealie.hardwarehomelabdemo.xyz. I'm going to change the time zone to Edmonton because that's where I'm at. And then I'm going to change the volume so that this will have the data stored within the same directory as my compose file. Something else to be aware of, this is going to be running on port 9925 on the host. Port 9000 inside the container. You don't need to ever change the right side of this colon, but that's it. This compose file should be ready to go, and I'm just going to say docker compose up -d. So this is going to pull the Docker image. It's going to start it up. Okay, so now that that's up and running, I just need to create a DNS record for it and set up the new host on Nginx Proxy Manager. So I'm going to switch back over to the browser. And in here, I'll go to my Pi-hole instance, go to local DNS, and for this one I'm going to create a CNAME record. So by using CNAME records, if for any reason I change my reverse proxy, I only have to change one IP address instead of going through every record that points to the same reverse proxy over and over and over again. So I'm going to add this here. That was mealie.hardwarehomelabdemo.xyz, and I'm going to point that one to my Nginx Proxy Manager instance. So now that I have DNS that points to this, I'm going to go to my Nginx proxy manager, which I've signed into already, and create a new proxy host. Once again, I got to use the same domain. And I'll point it back to this machine. And this is where I have to remember that port that it was set up on. Externally, it was 9925. So that's good. And I'm going to set it up so that it automatically encrypts it with SSL and hit save. Now we have to finish the setup process inside the container. So I'm going to go to that URL I just created. And you can see here, looks like this is your first time logging in. I have to use the username and password given right on this page. So I'm going to do that. And that was my password. And welcome to Mealie. Let's get started. Gotta give it a username. Full name, email, if I can type, and then give it a super secure password. Oh, I'll give it something a little better than that. I'm not going to enable advanced content for this. I don't need it for right now, but you can change this later in the future if you need. So on this next page, you can enable public access. I'm going to set this up. I'll show you what that does when the setup is complete. But effectively, all it does is allows you to access the recipes that you've saved on this box without having to sign in. And that's pretty convenient, especially for my usage. So data management, I'm going to use seed data. We'll say next. And everything's correct, so I'm going to click submit. And I'll be right back when it's done. Alright, so that setup is finished. Now I can go to the home screen and we're ready to use this. So there's a couple ways to add recipes in here. If you've got one of those old box of index cards, you can add them in here one at a time and do it manually. With that, you can click create a recipe manually, and in here you can just enter in whatever name you want. I'm going to call this powdered flour. Create the recipe. You can add however many servings it'll create, total time, prep time, description, creates dried flour. Ingredients, oh, it already added 1 cup for me. You can add other ingredients, and then you just change it here. 1 cup flour. You can give it categories. We don't have any set up yet, but you can create categories for it, and then you just put your instructions. And here it uses Markdown or HTML formatting. If you want to add a link to another site, I'm going to erase this because I don't need it for this step. And then I'm going to add a second step, a third step. And now that my steps are done, I can add a picture to this so I can show what the final product looks like. So I'm going to grab an image that I downloaded earlier. There's flour. I'll select that and then save it. So that's how you manually add recipes to it. My favorite feature of this, though, as I had said earlier, is to import from another website. So I'm going to grab, let's say, meatloaf. Let's look for a meatloaf recipe. Recipe? Okay, easy meatloaf recipe. So let's say I found this recipe and I really like it. I'm going to copy this URL. I'm going to switch back over to my Mealie instance and I'm going to create and import a recipe by URL. I just paste the link to where I found the recipe and then click create. And Mealie's pretty good for sorting through all the steps, the ingredients, and just automatically finding it. It even grabbed the image off the website. So you can see we've got all the ingredients. If you go back here, where's the ingredients? Right there. It matches exactly. And then directions, step 1, preheat the oven. It's got all the steps there, 1, 2, 4, just off of this website. So that's great. If I go back to my homepage now, I've got 2 different recipes on here. But Mealie is not always perfect at grabbing all the ingredients. I'm going to see if I can find a more complicated one. Let's say, cinnamon, if I can spell, cinnamon bun recipe. Oh, you know what? We want the best one. The best cinnamon bun recipe. Let's see, this ambitious kitchen looks good. And once we get through all of this story here, there should be a recipe. And here we go at the very bottom. We've got for the dough, for the filling, for the cream frosting. Okay, this looks good. So I'm going to copy this link. I'll go back to Mealie, import by URL, and create. So you can see here, for the dough, well, that's not really an ingredient. We've got instructions that look pretty good. But yeah, in the ingredients for the dough, that's a headline or heading, and we can edit this to reflect that that's how we want it to look. So if we go to for the dough, we can toggle section here. I'm going to take for the dough off, copy that, paste that as the title, and then I'm going to erase that as an ingredient. Same thing with for the filling, so I'm going to go to the one below it, toggle selection, I'll copy this and paste it there, and then I'll delete that as an ingredient. And for the cream cheese frosting, I'll go to the one below it, toggle section, okay, so far that looks good. We got the total time, prep time, cook time, all listed in here. This looks great. Is there anything else in here we want? See the steps. The steps are looking good. Now you can see there's a couple of notes on here. Maybe these are important and you want to save them. So let's go to notes, and we can add a note. And I'm just going to copy the title. This is probably not a good one, but I'm just going to do that anyway. I'll copy that. Copy the contents and then paste that in the note. And there was a second note in there to make overnight cinnamon rolls. Copy that and I'll paste it into my cinnamon rolls. Okay, that's how I want this to look. I'm going to close this out and that will save all the changes I just made. Now, if we go back to my home page, I've got 3 recipes on here. I can click on it. It's very clear, neat, and it got rid of all of this story up here. A lot of that page was cut out. If there's anything in here, if you've read this and there's anything in here that you want to save, you can add it as a note and it'll make it much more concise. Mealie has a couple of other cool features that I don't really use. If you've got a large catalog of recipes, you can go into Meal Planner here and you can create a meal plan for the week. So with this, it'll give you a random recipe. You can go breakfast, lunch, whatever, random dinner, random side, or you can just create a new. So we can select, I'm going to go with my easy meatloaf on this day and add that to the meal planner. And you can plan out your entire week. And then you can use that with your shopping lists. You can create a new list. I'm not going to do that now. You can create shopping lists. I've never used that, so I'm not too familiar with them. There's timelines that will show you when recipes were added. You can create cookbooks to separate all your recipes into different organizations. And you can create categories, tags, tools. I've never used that before either. So this is a pretty versatile meal planning utility. And if you'll remember when I said that you can make this public, if I log out and I go back to the base URL, I can access all of my recipes without even having to log in. You only have to log in when you're adding recipe. Or if I wanted to access my powdered flour recipe, I can just go in here and you can see all the steps are available there. All the ingredients, easy to access. So that's the recipe management software that I use, and it's ready to go. So I hope you found this informative. I hope you find it as useful as I do. And that's how I'm going to leave it for today. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.